Hey everybody, welcome back. It's me, Teri Hunter. All right, I'm going to start over because I'm not sure if you guys could hear me. Hi, it's me, Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and empowerment coach, and I'm here with this week's Messages from Your Angels by Astrological Sign. If you'd like to learn more about me, my services, or to book a private session, please feel free to go to my website at www.terihunter.com. That's TERIHUNTER.com. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. Let's see what Spirit has to say for Aries this week. Oops. Flew out of the deck. Hope you all had a great Halloween. It was pretty quiet here in Laguna Beach, I have to say. Not too many ghosts and goblins running around. Okay. I hope you all can hear me okay. All right, Aries. Our first angel is Archangel Uriel. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Ray. And the final is Bethany. Okay. So Archangel Uriel deals with the emotions of unforgiveness, anger, frustration, resentment. It looks to me like, Aries, you might be going through, we know we're in this Venus retrograde, and this Venus retrograde is really all about reevaluation. Reevaluation of our relationships, not just personal, but business, our relationships with money, our relationships with ourself and how we view ourselves. So I really think that some of you, lots of you, might be going through sort of a frustrating period where you're just sort of maybe a little bit annoyed this week, just feeling like things aren't quite the way you'd like them to be. I have Archangel Michael in the opportunity or the obstacle. This is about the courage to make the changes that you want in your life. This is about the courage to step out into the unknown and stick your neck out a little bit. I have Ray and the angels' advice for taking advantage of Archangel Michael. And I want to say this about Archangel Michael because, you know, when we endeavor to claim our lives and to make a change in our lives, there's always a certain period of disruption, a certain period of unknowing, a certain period of kind of having to look at the more challenging aspects of why we're making that shift. So Archangel Uriel is not necessarily saying that you are in a heightened state of anger or unforgiveness, Aries. It's more about, I feel like there could be the potentials of you've been sitting on this for a while. You've been sitting on this sort of frustration, maybe wanting to move your story forward. You know, Mars was retrograde for most of the summer, so there was that dynamic coming into play, meaning your ruling planet was being held back from you moving forward. And then Archangel Michael is asking you to have the courage to actually contemplate the changes from the idea that these changes are moving you towards what you want, towards what will bring you more happiness, rather than the disruption that the changes will create. And then as you connect with Spirit, Ray represents, you know, really taking my power center and connecting up through my crown chakra, and then lovingly speaking to myself through my heart. What do I want? Because in the final position is Bethany. And Bethany is saying to you, Aries, that there are things that you want, and when you deny yourself those things, this is also contributing to the frustration, to the anger, to the unforgiveness that you may be feeling. And it may not be any one of those things. You may not be feeling angry, you may not be feeling frustrated, but there is a low level of discontent going on this week. And I really believe that it's because it's about putting your agenda forward, and not selfishly. It's not like I'm going to say, you know, my way or the highway, but more about maybe you've been actually acquiescing to somebody else's dynamic or being very cooperative. And in doing so, you're not getting the same cooperation back. So you've got to take your, you know, claim yourself back and say, okay, I'm going to have to put my agenda forward this week. I'm going to have to take care of me. Okay, let's go on to Taurus. You know, I want to say one more thing about Aries because it just occurred to me as I said this. Uranus, the outer planet Uranus, is in retrograde, and it's literally coming into the last degrees of Aries any time now, any day now. Uranus brings along unexpected changes. It rules the internet. It rules electricity, lightning, it's very kinetic. It's very innovative, kind of like Mars in that way. And so having it coming into those last degrees of Aries, if your sun is in the last degrees of Aries, you may find things turning on a dime. You may find yourself reaching this crescendo of kind of, being overly cooperative with others and then just sort of cutting it off and saying no. And I want to say this too. I don't necessarily think that you're trying to be harsh or mean, but I do think that there is a certain way Aries has to assert themselves lovingly, but also remembering that if you continue to ignore what you need and want in your life and your relationships, it's just going to fester. And at one point, it's just going to blow. And Uranus can help that blow. So with the Venus retrograde and then Uranus kind of thing, I just want to say this: be authentic. Be authentic in your communications. It doesn't mean someone has to agree with you, and it doesn't mean you have to make them wrong. It's just how you feel. Okay. I don't know why I'm saying any of that. I'm going to go on to Taurus now. Let's see what Spirit has to say. Oops. For Taurus this week, I want to be sure to check your rising sign first. The rising sign is, you can go to a million different sites to find out what your rising sign is. On those free chart calculator things. Hi, Carly. Nice to see you. Welcome back. So check your rising sign first, because that's really the most influential. Then go to your sun and your moon. Okay. Let's see what's up for Taurus. Our first angel is Akasha. The second is Isaiah. The third is Celeste. And the final is Crystal. Okay, Taurus. As I pull this spread today, I just really feel like you guys have kind of been put through the ringer. There's been a lot of challenges going on, a lot of changes, a lot of unexpected things coming up over the last year or so for you. And I feel like Akasha is really representing that you're being, in some respects taught by Spirit to sort of, I want to say this, when we're young and when we're, contemplating the road of our lives, so often it is never really, oftentimes we think about getting married, starting a career. There are these like unconscious markers that we do. And so when we pick our partners, we pick them sort of with a short-term thought instead of a long-term thought. And I'm not trying to bag everybody's partnerships, but I think what Akasha is saying for Taurus is that if things have been really disruptive and you found yourself, in situations you didn't expect yourself to be in, there's something Spirit wants to teach you about the decision-making process that you're going through and how you're making those decisions, and really kind of digging deep to see, am I making these decisions because they're things I authentically want, or are they sort of a collective? Are they, and I know that we must cooperate when we're in families and we're in, work environments. But when we start to make our decisions based on our authentic wants and needs, then we start to align energetically with other people who are aligned to our want and needs. So we're not rubbing up against, going up against the stream. Because Isaiah is saying it's time to give life to new ideas and new situations, and that you're being guided to do so. And I think that's where Akasha is saying, trust that inner knowing, and you have something to learn energetically. Celeste is in the angel's advice, which talks about a happy move to a new home or a place of employment. But most of the time, especially when she's in the angel's advice, I always think it's about the way that I perceive things. I say this all the time. A confident person walks into a party and has one experience, and an insecure person walks into a party and the same party and has a completely different experience. What we believe about ourselves is how we take our actions. How we take our actions is how things start to manifest. So when we start to think that maybe this disruption that we've been going through, or some of the clearing of relationships, of dynamics in your lives, of old people going out and new people coming in, or jobs, situations, whatever your specific story is, it is meant to help remind you to really look deep as to what it is that you want and desire to experience in life. Because I have Crystal here in the final position offering you newness on the horizon, and things that you can't quite see and quite pinpoint. There's so often, and I feel like sometimes I'm repetitive, because when we get that inspired idea that we want to, start that business, or we go on that first date that gets us excited, and then we start to maneuver, and we start to maneuver from a place of loss. If we really think about it, we maneuver from a place of, oh, I want to get that and nail that down. And if I can appreciate the idea of wanting to nail it down, but I really got to get clean about how I'm going about that. Because when I connect with that, when I allow Akasha to teach me that, then I'm much more powerful in how I am manifesting. This is going to sound like a weird analogy, but I'm a skinny broad, and I've always been a skinny broad since I was like 25. I mean, was never fat, but I got skinny. And I was going through a bad breakup and got down to like 100 pounds. And when I came back up, I only gained like 5 pounds more, 10 pounds. And I have this thing in my head that says that I can eat whatever I want. I have no resistance to food. I only look at it as, how does it affect how I feel about myself? So if I have too much dairy, I don't feel too good. So in doing so, I can literally have ice cream at night and eat French fries at 11 o'clock, and I don't gain weight. It's not because I lack calories or I am constantly in a fitness routine, although I do try to eat well, but it is my relationship with food that I think that keeps me skinny. I just don't have a button on it. I don't have any issues. I don't eat low fat. I don't do margarine or low calorie things. So my point is, and why I'm saying this, is because I'm very acutely aware of my energy about food. So when my Taurians kind of look at what is the energy I'm going through, when I'm reevaluating, Venus, your ruler, is in retrograde, it is about reevaluation of what you think is important and what you value. So really dig deep and look. And I think when you do that, you'll find some of the resistance or any blocks may start to move out. And this is where crystal really offers you sort of that tail wag, because there's something bigger and better than you can imagine on the horizon. And that's where you, in hindsight, say, thank you. I'm so glad I didn't take that job because I got this one. Okay, let's go on to Gemini. What's up for Gemini this week? Again, I want to remind everybody, check your rising sign. It's really the most influential, then your sun and moon. And if you're a man, check your sun first. If you're a woman, check your moon, and then vice versa. Okay. So here we go, Gemini. The first angel is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Shanti. The third is Seraphina. And the final is Isaiah. So Archangel Gabriel talks about having an important life's purpose in the arts and communications. Pretty much every business we do these days is communications. We can be on our devices more. But what I really think here, when I look at this, Gemini, is I think that this is more, has to do with your personal lives and how you're communicating with others. And when we hold back something we feel insecure about, it tends to make a pressure cooker. So by the time we express ourselves, we tend to be defending ourselves and like trying to defend our position. I have Shanti in the opportunity and or the obstacle. And Shanti is an angel of peace. But before that peace can come in, whatever is disrupting it has to sort of step aside. So Gemini, if you've been really contemplating in your communications, saying something that you think may not be palatable to another or attractive to another, or your ideas semi outside of the box, I think what Archangel Gabriel is really asking you to do is to try to communicate from a place of your authentic passion. You don't have to have all the answers right now, especially if you're endeavoring something new. I'm going to jump over to Isaiah in the final position, because Isaiah is saying it's time to give birth to new ideas and situations. So let me back up a second here. Archangel Gabriel is talking about how I'm communicating. And the communication is really about me as a Gemini being able to, and I'm not a Gemini, I'm just saying, but me as a Gemini being able to communicate before I get to the place of feeling like I'm going to get resistance from the other side and I'm trying to overcompensate in why I want to do what I want to do, because I think that's where Shanti offers you peace. And then I have Seraphina saying that offers you a happy change to your family. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is about a family per se, as it's in the family of all the voices inside of your own head, all the back and forth weighing, all the reasons you may have been feeling trepidation about communicating what it is that you want. Because I want to go back to Isaiah and say that giving birth to new ideas and new situations is also giving birth to the idea that, hey, you know what, if I express something that I want to start, and maybe there'll be more agreement, maybe there'll be less resistance than I think, and maybe it isn't necessarily about what I want to start, but how I go about it. Because if I'm looking for someone else to validate my idea, my thought, my the seedling for my next action, I could go to 10 different people and get 10 different reactions, and it's only going to put me in more confusion. So I think it's a little bit about, Gemini, really allowing yourself to communicate authentically with others without defense or without looking for validation, sort of just childlike innocence. And then also communicating in a way that, I believe in general that we should communicate with others in the way we want to receive communication. I'm not always good at it. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, but I do my best to be conscious of trying to say, especially when it's the challenging things, to say them with the way that I would best be able to hear them and have an open mind. Okay, let's go on to Cancer. Oops. All right, Cancer, what does Spirit have to say for you today? All right. Our first angel is Ariel. The second is Caressa. The third is Archangel Uriel. And the final is Daniel. Okay, my Cancers, it looks to me like Spirit is addressing some of your relationships this week. Ariel talks about new psychic and spiritual experiences changing the way you think and the way you view the world. When I think about psychic and spiritual experiences, I really think about energy. Every reaction has an equal or greater. Every action has an equal or greater reaction. And that is what I think is spiritual psychic experiences, is being aware of how is the energy I'm projecting when I'm going into a situation. And I think that what Spirit is addressing for Cancers this week is your relationship in your intimate body. And I'm going to go straight to my final position because I have Daniel here, and Daniel is the angel of marriage. And he talks about bringing a partner in, but more importantly, he talks about what are you bringing into a new situation? What unforgiveness, what pattern do you have in intimate relationships that you may be unconsciously bringing in? Not just what you purport into the relationship, but how you perceive a relationship. So I'm going to go back to Ariel at the first position. As you allow yourself to look at things from a larger perspective, meaning, what is my energy? What do I believe about this dynamic? So let's just say this, Cancer. Let's say that you've been dealing with a challenging relationship and you're feeling fearful that you're losing ground in this relationship. Are you communicating from a place of trying to regain your ground, or are you communicating, which to me, trying to regain my ground is fear. It's looking to the other person in some respects to tell me how I'm doing in this situation. I have to claim myself, and I have to look a little bit deeper about what is going on, because I have Caressa talking about being at the end of a life cycle and new happiness awaits you. We crave change. We want things to be better. We want this, we want that. And then when change starts to show itself, because whatever is holding us back is being moved out, we will resist it often, and we'll get scared, because I have Archangel Uriel and the Angel's Advice. And there's a certain amount of my Cancers who are really pissed off about the change, about you may have been gone through a breakup. You may have found disruption in your family relationships. This is very much relationship oriented for you this week, because that's what Daniel represents. And we're not just married to our intimate partners. We're married to our jobs. We're married to our families. We're married to the things that we feel obligation towards. So as you turn over to Spirit your wants and desires, whatever they are, in the sense of thanking Spirit for giving you eyes to see the situation differently, because I think that's where you'll find your solace. That's where you'll find your comfort, because there is definitely a shift going on. At least this week, you may find, there may be disruptions, there may be a little bit of arguing, there may just be lack of communication, and that might trigger you. But in any case, your job is to sort of look as to how you are showing up into relation to whatever the closing of this chapter is, because you're offering bigger sight. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe there's the possibility for recalibration. Maybe if I allow myself to not focus on how the other person or the other dynamic is showing up, but just how I'm showing up, regardless, then I think that Daniel really does offer us an opportunity for new partnership. And I don't want to say always about partnership outside of myself. It's kind of maybe partnership inside of myself too, where I say, I'm really am taking care of me now. And rather than being angry at someone else for whatever they can't deliver, I'm just going to take care of me regardless. Okay, let's go on to Leo. All right, what is up for Leo this week? All right. Our first angel is Indriel. The second is Teresa. The third is Vanessa. And the final is Crystal. So I would have to say for Leo, this doesn't look like an action-packed week for you. Indriel is my light worker card. She talks about really just, shining my light. We all have an energetic body, whether we realize it or not. We walk into a place and people can feel our moods, our energy, not just because of the look on our face, but how we show up. Some people call it body language. It all plays together. So shining your light is about allowing yourself to think and perceive and know that if you're in a holding pattern, and I might have said this to you, Leo, last week, actually, I'm having a little memory of playtime, of allowing yourself playtime. Hey, Lucky's like, there's somebody out in the alley. He's guarding their territory. Okay, so I want to say this, Leo, just let yourself kind of just sit in that faith and have a good time and be you're ruled by the sun. Let the sun shine on you this week. Feel like the sun is shining on you. Be the sun. Because Teresa's in the opportunity or the obstacles saying that, a lot of you have been worrying. And I think it could be because you may not be seeing action just yet. You may not be seeing what you're looking for in the material world. And Vanessa is saying, are you going to make your decisions on faith or fear? So when you're contemplating whether you're worrying or not, am I going to do that because I'm scared that what I want is or isn't going to happen, or I can't see any evidence of it? So often, the minute we hatch an idea, we want to just immediately see it manifest. But, any good sauce needs time to marinate. Cold brew coffee takes, 24, 48 hours to cold brew on the counter. So allow, Leo, yourself a little privilege of saying that there's more, because I've got Crystal here. Have faith and hope because there's more on the horizon that you can't see. And your job right now is just to stay the line, hold the faith, and continue to foster that higher knowing that the things that you want to experience, the dynamics you're looking to bring forth or foster or nurture or make bigger now are in play. Everything is working out, and you're just play a little bit, have fun, smile, shine your light on the world, and know that all is well. God and the angels are watching over you this week. Okay, they're watching over you all the time. Let's go into Virgo. Sometimes they watch over us in a way like, if you can imagine teaching a kid to ride a bike, and how scared they are without their balance, and they want us to run along, and then, they're doing fine on their own until they realize that we've taken our hand off of the bike, and then they start to stumble again. That's kind of what God and the angels are like. They see us stumble, but they don't fear for us. They know that there's times when we just have to dig into this dense human body and find our balance. And we can't find balance if we're never out of balance. And if we wanted to always be in balance, we would not incarnate into the human experience, because it is fraught with imbalance. It is fraught with contrasting experiences. It's why we watch reality television, because we see that guy who struggled for so long to become a singer, and now he's got his opportunity, and we're so excited for him. This is the beautiful thing about the human experience. And if we could just sort of grasp that idea that the challenges is where the nuggets lie, where the pearls, where the golden, the golden fleece is. Okay, let's go on to Virgo. Okay, our first angel is Patience. The second is Yvonne. The third is Vanessa. And the final is Oceana. Well, that's interesting because this is a sort of a week for Virgos where I feel like the beginning of the week, Patience is saying sort of stop, pay attention, learn, study, assimilate what's going on, take a pause. Yvonne is saying, be vulnerable to what you want. Be vulnerable to, and this is the thing. When I talk about being vulnerable, I'm really not talking about putting myself in a fear bubble. It's almost about putting myself in faith. You know, if I want it, if I have this inkling, this craving for something, maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe the whole exercise of not knowing I can get it and then creating it or taking those steps, because I have Vanessa in the faith. In the angel's advice, asking me to take my actions based on faith. Because what I think, Virgo, is going on is that the Patience card is not necessarily asking you to study other people or other dynamics, but yourself as you're going through. Because as you walk through this week, and let's just say randomly, you're a realtor and you're waiting to hear whether or not your escrow is going to close or you're going to get a buyer, whatever the story is. As you stand in your energy and say, well, what am I going to think? Am I going to think, oh, if this person doesn't, somebody else is going to come in. This house, this dynamic is moving forward, because it's being vulnerable to that bigger idea. Because we as humans have the hardest time grasping that if we want something, if we're happy, we can retain it, we can sustain it, we can nurture it. We're always feeling like, when's the shoe going to drop? Who's going to hit me in the back of the head? And this is why Vanessa is asking us so adamantly to be vulnerable to our own faith. Our own faith in the universe is much more benign and willing to work with us for our greatest and highest good than we think it is. And I know our political dynamic is all inflamed, and there's so many areas of life right now where fear is fostered. But when we look deeper into the situation, when I really look at how am I showing up? Am I standing in that fear? Am I somehow standing in that collective, or am I standing in a more faithful collective? Because there are souls, many of us, that have incarnated to walk through challenging dynamics only to triumph, and to triumph so that we can show others that it's possible. Because here's Oceana. Oceana is saying to lovingly assert yourself, that you're in love, you're in touch with your truth. But it's Patience that's asking you to really look at that truth, because the truth of, I know I want it, I know I want it, why aren't I getting it, why aren't I getting it, why aren't I getting it, really means I don't believe. There's a block. There's a block. And it isn't even being able to jump from disbelief into belief, but being able to surrender in the process of, maybe I just don't know. So you don't assign something, you don't try to fill it in when you don't have a clear picture. And that's Vanessa. So Virgo, this week, take time to assess where you're sitting in your energy. What can you learn about your dual thought? What's the true dominant thought? And then once you've identified that, allowing yourself to be vulnerable to where you want to go, and then taking action based on that, being brave in your own life. Okay, let's go on to Libra. Okay, my Libras, what is up for us this week? Okay. Our first angel is Indriel. The second is Shanti. The third is Crystal. And the final is Bridget. Okay, this is very interesting because I feel like I just said this for somebody else, but I don't remember who. Indriel is about shining my light out into the world. And this week, Libra, this is not about action and moving forward at all. It feels very much like I'm in a holding pattern, like I'm waiting for others. I've done everything I can do to move my story forward, and now I just kind of have to wait. There has been, I've mentioned before that Venus is in retrograde. Venus rules Libra. The retrograde is about reevaluation, assessing my money, my relationships to my possessions, my relationships to how I feel about my physical body, its attractiveness, etc. Um, as you shine your light, and I want to say this is like smiling and just going, you know what? It's just one of those weeks where I've got to wait for that call. That call may not come in this week. It may be next week. Shanti's the angel of peace, which talks about there's a certain level of disruption that's taking place. And in order for the peace to come through, the disruption has to go away. But it may not be Libra's disruption. It may be that you're waiting for somebody else and their life is busy and hectic, and they're trying to get things in play. Because Crystal is here in the angel's advice saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. So the answer that you're looking for could potentially be a yes. Everything could be awesome and in play. It's just the timing isn't right because somebody else's life is in a kind of hectic place. And in order for them to be able to move your story forward, let's just say you're trying to get a job, okay? And the employer is got a bunch of business meetings and a board meeting, and they've expressed interest in you, but they just can't settle in on bringing you in for that second interview. Relax, shine your light, go to the beach, take a walk in nature, Libra. Allow yourself, because Bridget's here. Bridget's here saying, look deeper into the situation. Just because you can't see the outcome doesn't mean the outcome isn't good. And so often when we look at cards, when we get the angels of caution, we're like, oh no, something bad's going to happen. It's not that all the time at all. It could be just the opposite. Something really good is going to happen. So look deeper beyond your fear, beyond your, oh no, I want it, I can't get it, and move into the place of shining your light. Of course, everything's going to work out great. I'm going to have so many great things coming my way. And I really do believe that, Libra. Okay, let's move on to Scorpio. What is happening with Scorpio? Still your birthday time. Well, lots still more your time. And Venus is in retrograde in Scorpio. So, you guys might find yourselves reevaluating a lot of different things. And not just money in the form of how you spend money in your relationship to money, but also you could be reevaluating taxes, insurances, things that are eighth house, even your relationship in some respects to your beliefs. The eighth house rules astrology, and well, not completely, but of the occult, birth and rebirth. So there's a high probability that Scorpio is really digging deep to look and see things that are serving and the things that are not serving. And as I pull cards here for you, it looks like it's going to be very much in your intimate body, which makes perfect sense for Venus being in retrograde in Scorpio. Chantal is the angel of romance. She talks about the resurgence of a romance or a new person coming in. I really believe that this isn't about relationship at all in the sense of a resurgence or a new relationship, as much as it really plays to the Venus retrograde and asking Scorpio to reevaluate your intimate body. And are you getting from your relationships, and are you giving in your relationships that which you want to receive? If you're finding yourself in a really imbalanced situation, Scorpio, there is a high probability that that relationship will end. You're ruled by Pluto and Mars. Pluto is the modern ruler. Mars is the ancient ruler. And Pluto's all about transformation. Pluto is kind of, tucks into the underbelly of the human nature. And once it's been exposed, it really is a form of great healing. Because I have Akasha, the teacher here. I have Omega in the Angel's Advice, which is a card of victory. And then I have Xana saying that you're being protected. I really want to encourage my Scorpios this week to look at their relationships in general, both their intimate relationships and their relationships with themselves. How am I showing up in my relationships, in my intimate? Am I giving my power away? Am I hoping that somebody will make a decision that is in alignment with what I want instead of me making the decision aligned for me? Because if you find that these relationships, that some of them are going away, they may be going away so that you can actually bring in a relationship that will serve the things that you're wanting to experience, the things you're wanting to feel in your love and intimate body. It's not fun to be in love with somebody who doesn't allow us to love them. It's not fun to be clipped in our expression of our love. And I want to say this too, because love is not about what somebody else gives back to us. And God, I used to be so frustrated with this when I was a kid, because I would think, well, if I love you, don't you have to love me back? Or if you say you love me, shouldn't you show me that you love me the way I love you? But you know what? People show love in different ways. And that's why they have the book, The Five Love Languages. So being able to really get clear on what it is and how you love and what you want to receive, and then allowing yourself to, I don't know, I guess I want to put it this way, allowing yourself to make a big adult decision and step out of the imbalance. It doesn't even mean you have to break up. It just means that you get to just be brave enough to say, if I say no to this, could it get better? Maybe it can. Maybe it can, as I show more self-love, maybe it infuses the relationship with more love. Okay, let's go on to Sagittarius. All right, Sagittarius, what is up for you this week? All right, our first angel is Maya. The second is Shanti. The third is Caressa. And the final is Fiona. Maya is a card of schooling and education. She will talk about potentially going back to school to improve your life's purpose. I always kind of see this as an energetic education, because anything I endeavor on this planet its viability is in my ability to believe that it's viable. And so I have Shanti in the opportunity or the obstacle, saying that new peace is coming in. She's been showing up a lot. So I do think this Venus retrograde is kicking some stuff up for people as we reevaluate our relationship with our possessions, our relationship with our money, our relationship with other people. Caresses in the angel's advice, saying that you're at the end of a life cycle and the new happiness awaits you. And then I have Fiona saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving it. So if in Maya's, energetic education, showing you, what you're bringing to the table energetically, I want to put it this way. I don't think this is outside yourself, Sagittarius. I think this is inside of yourself. I think that this week is an opportunity for you to observe how you're endeavoring your tasks, your relationships, and then decide if you like how you're going about that. And then if not, if there's certain elements that you think, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, I should do this, I should do that, that needs to be reevaluated. Because trying is a resistant energy on some level. When somebody says they're going to try to get back to me, I know they're not going to call me. It's just the way it always works out. And it's not because I'm putting in negative energy. It's because there's a lack of intention in the word trying. So I feel like when I go back to Fiona, and Fiona's saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, this is really not about asking. It's about thanking them. Thank you for giving me that energetic education to see where I might be getting in my own way without realizing it, where my belief might be wobbling a little bit, might be vacillating back and forth, and then allowing that surrender to it. You know what? I am having trouble with believing. And then just releasing that, and that resistance can open things up for you, and God and the angels can step in and show you that with clear evidence. Okay, let's go on to Capricorn. What is up for Capricorn this week? All right, my Capricorns. Shanti is here again. Wow. She's just making herself known this today. Okay. Venus retrograde. La, la, la. God bless it. So in Shanti is the angel of peace, Capricorn. And basically what she's saying is that there's a certain amount of disruption that's going on. And I'm going to say it's directly in your relationships. Again, I've got Daniel, the angel of marriage, in my final position. And with this Venus retrograde, the focus really is on relationships. Yes, it can be relationships with money and our possessions, but our intimate bodies are first and foremost, especially because it's retrograding back into Libra, the sign of partnerships. So Capricorn, Shanti is asking you in some ways to look at your relationships and where is their disruption, where the peace is being disrupted, and you have no ability to shift that. It could be in the form of another person, and they're stubborn and they just have their way of being and they refuse to budge. It could be, I don't know, a million different things, because Vanessa is sitting here saying, are you going to start to make your decisions based on faith? Meaning the faith that I want to have a happy life. I want to have a happy relationship. I want to have a happy work environment. I want to enjoy the things in my life more. You know, you goats are ruled by Saturn. Saturn is a really very authoritative, kind of, I don't want to say restrictive, although it is restrictive, but it doesn't have to be. When you play with Saturn's energy and you are willing to do the hard work of looking deep into what you're bringing to the table, looking not outside yourself to who else there is that is contributing to the disruption, but yourself, looking, to you, I think you're going to find more solace. And so here we have Vanessa asking you, when you do that deep reflection, to have faith that the things that you want are out there in the Ethernet, waiting for your invitation to let them in. Because I have your spirit guides in the form of Sonia, really encouraging you to step into that faith. And some of you may have deceased loved ones on the other side. And so Sonia can represent them as well. When I think about a deceased loved one, I don't think of them as a guide for me in life. I think of them as a loved one, somebody who is just here to... my guides and angels are energies that are wiser than I, that can see a road to help appease my fears. I don't know that I think when my loved ones cross over that they suddenly have a sight that they didn't have on the earth. But I know that they're here encouraging you to have that faith in yourself, because in the final position is Daniel. Daniel's the angel of marriage. Now, so for Capricorn, the angel of marriage, Daniel, he talks about bringing a partner in, but his focus is really on what are we bringing in, what baggage are we bringing into the relationship? Where's the story? Where's the pattern? What are we anticipating? And it doesn't feel like it's a good anticipation. So we go back. Shanti in the foundational position is offering peace when I look at my relationships and I look to myself and say, where am I potentially being disruptive or not authentic in my communication, or I'm being disruptive because I'm allowing somebody else to drive this relationship off the road and I'm giving my power up to them. And then having faith in yourself that says, as I stand in the balance I'm looking for, and I do my best to be that which I want to receive in a relationship. It isn't about not saying the hard things. It's not about avoiding difficult dynamics as much as it's about being as authentic and owning my part in it. So Capricorn, being very logical earth sign, you may have a tendency to focus in on what the other person's doing. We are doing this and you're doing that. But what if my responsibility is I'm putting up with this and I'm putting up with that? It's time to really assess how much of a pattern this is, and if this pattern has reached a critical mass, or whether it can still be course corrected. Because the focus this week is on just moving the disruption in your marriages and in your intimate partnerships and bringing in a sense of peace. And that's going to be done as a result of having faith in a bigger picture and turning it over to spirit. Okay, let's go on to Aquarius. All right, Aquarius, let's see what's up for you. Hi, Rachel. Okay, our first angel is Isaiah. The second is Chantal. The third is Caressa. and the final is Fiona. Well, this is interesting to me because uh, very much a theme of love this week. So Isaiah talks about giving birth to new ideas and new situations. Chantal is the romance angel, the angel that says she's bringing in new love or the resurgence of love within an existing relationship. I have Caressa in the angel's advice saying you're at the end of a cycle within your relationship. And Fiona offering, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving it. So Aquarius, I want to say this. Chantal being in your opportunity or your obstacle is not necessarily saying that you are in a relationship or that they are bringing you one right now. What they're offering you is the idea of how do you want your relationship to be. If you're in an existing relationship and you're struggling through shifting in the relationship, or you're wanting to extract a certain behavior from your partner, I feel like it's your opportunity to display that behavior, and in doing so, then assessing whether or not it is being reciprocated. We can't really tell somebody how to treat us. It's an experiential thing, because I don't think this is about breakups. I don't think this is about makeups. I don't think this is about new love or old love as much as it's about giving birth to new ideas about love that can close the chapter on my previous views of love and open up to something new. So let's just say that you've always been dating somebody who's I love you, gotta go. This is more important. Work is so important. Oh, I'll be back, but work is so important. And they're always putting you off for some reason. This Isaiah is saying, well, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to stop going over there and knocking on that door. Maybe I should just let it sit and wait to see if they show up and want to spend time with me, and then to assess the quality of that and ask God and the angels to give me the eyes to see my love life through a more neutral lens. Aquarius, you're not the most emotional to begin with, and you can be sort of scientifically minded in some ways, but even within that, there is an opportunity for you to not just assess what you're getting, but how you're showing up too. And then doing your best to be cognizant of your partner and what they require or may need in the relationship. I have no idea what I just said, so I'm going to go on to Pisces. I feel like a crazy person sometimes because my mouth just goes and goes and goes, and I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, all works out in the end. Okay, let's go to our final sign for the week, Pisces. Okay, the first is Azure, the second angel is Isaiah, the third is Francesca, and the final is Isabella. Oh, Pisces, this is lovely. Boy, you got a little bit different than everybody else. This might be your week. So, your desired outcome will happen in the very near future. Don't try to force it to happen. Force is resistant energy. When we are pushing up against something or trying to make it happen, it's actually in many ways delaying things. Yes, we may see a certain amount of progress, but long term, that's a resistant energy. So when you have that faith and patience that, okay, so there's a timing issue here, again, Venus retrograde, so partnerships of any kinds, partners with jobs, partnerships with other people, collaborations of some kind may be on a stall. But this is where the opportunity comes in, because it's where Isaiah gives you an opportunity to actually think from a different perspective. And Francesca is asking you what you're visualizing. Are you focused in on, if I don't have any physical validation that this is moving forward, that it isn't happening, it isn't happening, it isn't happening, or is it happening? It may be happening. It's probably happening, because Azure is saying, yes, it is happening. Don't try to force it. And then I have Isabel in the final position saying, yes, the timing is right for this new venture. A happy outcome follows your positive expectation. Whenever we endeavor anything, the stages of a relationship, the stages of building a business, the stages of creating anything, there's always, the beginning, the inspired idea, the desert, where, we've done a lot of the work. We're sitting in that energy, and then it's ebbing and it's flowing and going back and forth. That back and forth is where the rubber meets the road. Because if you go too far into the dark side of, oh my God, 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 you're going to start a momentum the other way, which is why I think Azure and Francesca are saying, visualize what it is you seek, and not how to get there, Pisces. It's how it feels once I'm there. The comfort, the serenity, the peace that endeavor offers you. And then Spirit will gladly give you evidence. And sometimes the evidence is not a big boulder that drops on your head. It's a little crumb that you have to follow and go, what? Was that it? And then there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. And it could be a phone call from a friend, has a conversation and says something random that you didn't expect, that you were like, what? I've heard that. And there's a validation. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but let me say this, Pisces, it's a great week for you to really hone in on how it feels when you're living the things that you've been putting forth into the universe, because it looks like things should start moving forward. All right, guys, this is me, Teri Hunter. Again, I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, and empowerment coach. And if you'd like to learn more about me, my services, or to book a private session, please feel free to go to my website at www.terihunter.com. That's TERIHUNTER.com. Or you can call or text me the numbers below. And I'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.